There is no such thing as a haunted house. To be truthful, there are haunted houses, but they can only be seen and found in storybooks, documentaries, low-budget Hollywood movies, and of course those ghost stories handed down from generation to generation. And while we are still on honesty, why not establish the commonly accepted fact all around the world concerning haunted houses? The fundamental core of most spooky or ghost stories that include the haunted house fallacy, their belief can be simply packaged as follows. Any space, building, or house where a previous tenant or tenants were either murdered, tortured to death, or committed suicide, and those restless spirits are still trapped within the walls of that place. Occasionally, they will reveal themselves in order to plead with the new tenants to help them find justice or seek revenge from those responsible for their untimely deaths. And here are just a few facts that contradict the fallacy of a haunted house. 1. Evil spirits or demons, often referred to as a ghost or a spook. They do not possess a solid physical, tangible body as you and I do as humans. Therefore, evil spirits being invisible most of the time, they really have no need to turn taps on for water, as they don't drink it and neither do they cook with water. Likewise, they never get tired, so they don't need a chair, couch, or a bed to sleep in. Naturally then, they will have no need for a table, a plate, knife or fork, as they don't consume solid foods. And they will definitely have no possible reason to live within concrete walls of a house to shelter them from a raging storm, icy snow, or dangerous lightning outside. 2. Easily 90% or more of the Hollywood horror movies that you might have seen in your lifetime place a haunted house scenario always in the night, so they can add their wonderful and terrifying sound effects to lift the gullible cinema goers off their seats in fear. 3. The very first authentic book ever in the world to mention evil spirits, demons, or fallen angels is the Bible. And yet, ironically, there is not one single scripture, passage, parable, or verse that ever mentions a haunted house. Don't you find that very strange? And number 4, it was way back in 1825. The haunted house scenario or situation was first made popular by an Irish student attending Trinity College in Dublin, Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. Slightly bored with his lectures, began writing about the supernatural and short ghost stories. And just a few years later, he published his classic novel, Carmilla, which not only greatly dramatized haunted houses and brought them to life, as it were, but his writings also popularized the age-old fallacy of vampires, the sucking of blood out of humans in order to live forever, and their ultimate fear of sunlight. Now, those are just 4 of the main reasons why there are no such places or things as haunted houses. But let me boggle your mind a bit and take you behind the scenes of a haunted house. And let me reveal exactly what occurs to gullible humans who dare to enter a place where evil spirits are actually lurking behind every door. And I'll tell you how the tables move, windows shatter, and those doors seem to open by themselves. The following information is crucial as it comes from the Bible as well as from a former Magus high priest of Satanism, but only to confirm the Bible and also to verify the evil activities in the movement of Satanism. Plus, you will hear how each and every so-called haunted house is cleverly created and what actually occurs behind the scenes in those places. But before I go any further, it is essential you understand everyone has a guardian angel sent by God to help them receive the gospel as quickly as possible, and they are there to daily help, direct, guide, and protect you at times from God's archenemy, often called the devil or Satan, which are both correct. Though this heavenly angel remains with you throughout your entire life on earth, God, being perfectly righteous and just, has brilliantly planned and permitted an evil spirit to remain in your presence daily, just like the guardian angel, to execute the exact opposite of what your heavenly guardian angel does for you. Recruits in Satanism all across the world already know that there is no such thing as a haunted house, simply because of the following facts explained to them by their very own priests and spirit guides in Satanism. Demonic and evil spirits begin the process by casually misleading lonely, bored, gullible, and agnostic folk. Allow me to quickly create a typical spooky scenario and a character or two to take you behind the scenes of your average haunted house. Samantha is a 19-year-old college student who has already been misled by this evil spirit. It has manipulated her mind into faithfully believing and religiously following her weekly horoscopes. Oh, and please do remember, Samantha's guardian angel, as well as yours, cannot physically stop what she sets out to decide to do, because guardian angels that come from heaven cannot interfere with her God-given free will, regardless, even if that leads to a terrible marriage, an abortion, attempted suicide, or worse. Now, because the spirit has manipulated Samantha into following horoscopes, it has become relatively easier to place another thought in her scatterbrain as she reads about haunted houses in a magazine that her boyfriend Rodney has just bought for her. They discuss what she's reading, and he likes the idea of visiting the haunted house because he and his brother have played the Ouija board 4 times already. So Rodney calls his cousin and girlfriend, and all 4 of them plan to meet opposite the haunted house in question the following evening. Little did they know, all the collective knowledge of all of their individual emotions, fears, desires, superstitions, and personal hidden secrets of Rodney, Samantha, the cousin Billy, and his girlfriend Belinda, all of that has been transmitted to the poltergeist spirits waiting for them in the house. From the first words ever uttered as 4 young babies, right up until the spooky joke they have just shared moments ago in the car, every single word and emotion they have ever said or experienced has been transferred and transmitted to the poltergeist and the familiar spirit inside the house. Armed only with a digital camera and 2 torches, the 2 couples slowly open the front door and tiptoe down the long, dusty, dark passage into the lounge. Samantha lets out a curdling shriek as an old armchair rapidly moves across the lounge floor, forcing Rodney to dart out of the way, and it stops dead center in the middle of the room. Billy's girlfriend tugs at his jacket and whispers, "No, Billy," as he arrogantly walks across the lounge and sits down in the chair and proceeds to educate his girlfriend by showing off. "Chill, Belinda. I know how these things work, girl. The spirits are not in control. Look, I've played Ouija board and..." Billy stops talking as the chair begins to levitate off the carpet. Rodney quickly reaches forward and grabs Billy's hand and pulls him out of the chair as it hurtles through the air, and at a speed it smashes into pieces against the wall some 10 feet away. "Hey, what the hell?" Billy shouts into the dimly lit lounge, but never finishes his sentence as he stares at some sort of hazy apparition floating towards them from the kitchen. Samantha screams before she and Belinda hide behind Rodney, who isn't too sure what to do next, as he stares in unbelief at something materializing right before his eyes into a shape, a body with facial features of his late aunt, Billy's mother. Behind the scenes, the so-called haunted house was just another abandoned house, and 8 months ago, someone might have started a rumor that the owner had murdered his wife. Then 3 months down the line, someone else added a more dramatic piece of how the 10-year-old daughter hanged herself in the garage. And so the man-made stories grew and grew until it hit haunted house status. You see, There were no actual trapped spirits in the building, only a poltergeist spirit that has the power to move furniture, shatter windows, kill all plant life, switch lights and electrical appliances off and on, and even make the domestic pets sick and die. And the second spirit waiting in that house was, of course, a familiar spirit. It knew exactly what Billy's mother looked like, what she normally wore at home, and even how she spoke, and every single secret that Billy had ever told his mom. However, a familiar spirit cannot speak of its own accord, as they do need a human throat and larynx to create the correct vocal sounds to vibrate at exactly the right speed that will give them Billy's mom's vocal sounds, the correct pitch, language, accent. It would have sounded exactly the same as Billy's mother. And the biblical proof that there were no trapped victims is found in Hebrews 9:27. It reads, "It is appointed unto man once to die and then the judgment." That means there is no second chance to come back to earth and become a follower of Jesus Christ once you have seen and experienced hell. If Billy's mom had lived and died as an unbeliever and not a born-again child of God, then within 3 minutes of her death, her spirit and soul would have been fetched by the 2 angels of death and taken directly to hell. And there in fire and brimstone, she would have been in constant daily suffering and in torment until Judgment Day. And do you remember, Rodney and his brother had played the Ouija board, so Rodney's evil spirit arranged with Samantha's deceptive spirit to somehow meet up, which they did. And eventually Samantha and Rodney started dating. Then Rodney bought her the magazine to check her weekly horoscopes in. And that's how the conversation came up about Haunted House. And Rodney was inspired by his evil spirit to quickly call his cousin, who had also played Ouija board before. And that is how the evil and deceptive spirits of 4 normal young folk planned and arranged to get 4 gullible, bored youngsters who were all deceived by these spirits to walk blindly into an abandoned house that they fully believed was haunted.